right? And I'm going to ask Dr. B this one, right? So, in his book, Passionate Marriage, right? Keeping Love Alive in Committed Relationships, David Schnarch said, sex gets better with age. Have you found this to be the case for you and your relationship, right? And so, what would you tell younger couples who are looking to keep intimacy alive in the midst of pressing responsibilities, right? Just I feel like the modern day world just has so much coming at us, and we're still trying to, work and be mothers and all of that, and still maintain a vibrant, sex life, as you say. So, yep.
So since I'm the last person to speak, I'm going to indulge and say a little thing about communication and money. Mm-hmm. So for me, and very brief, for me, I didn't want to interrupt. For me, for communication, I agree with what everybody has said, but I think the only thing that I would say that I add or to make it more meaningful, more better, or that I think is helpful is the timing. Mm-hmm. For me, the timing is very, very important in my communication, and that has really helped our communication style. Mm-hmm. Just kind of knowing the timing per particular conversation, and not only the timing and the delivery. Mm-hmm. Those two things are so important that I think a lot of people, I always say this almost like a crass joke or whatever, that you can serve the best dish in the entire world, but if you serve that best dish in the entire world in a very dirty container, it's even though it's the best dish, people are going to get turned off and they're not going to eat it. So I think in everything that we've said, we have to have communication. We have to make sure that it's effective. Mm-hmm. But we also, in the midst of all that, we also have to think about the timing and the delivery. Mm-hmm. So that has been very helpful for my home and for my marriage. And in terms of money, I completely agree with Shola. I think she said something that was very important, kind of understanding at the very beginning, which is still an offshoot of communication, of understanding, what your roles and what you agree, because different homes operate differently. Yep. And one home operating in one way doesn't make it better than another home. So for us, for my family, we have a joint account, and we had a joint account for a very, very long time, like a single joint account. So where, all our money kind of just goes into that, and I'm the spender. Baya is the saver, which is good,
I would never forget. I know.
But me saying we have a joint account doesn't mean, everybody has to have a joint. It doesn't mean if you don't have a joint account, your marriage is better. Also, I think just having that communication, understanding. Though recently, just because I was like, I just want to have my own money, this is maybe 1-2 years ago. I was like, you know what? I just want to have another account, and which is also part of the communication. It's like, why we've done this for how many, we've been married we'll be 21 years, so I was like, I don't know, I just want something different. And that's part of the communication. It wasn't from a place of trust. Yeah. This is what I want. And it wasn't an argument. It wasn't a big deal. Mm-hmm. It was just like, okay, I just want something different, from what, and that's what and in fact, to be fair, that little extra account that I have is now practically like mine, because all the bills and all that still kind of comes out from that, so it hasn't changed what has happened, but I just have, so anyway, I wanted to say that. So just kind of having that communication, understanding, having that communication before and knowing what works for your family and kind of going for an agreement. And then finally, to my question, completely agree that it gets better, with time, with age. And I think for so many reasons, one, you've done this so many times, if I can say that. And so
what buttons to press.
You know what works and you know what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So that's different. And I think you just mature. Mm-hmm. You're more patient, mm-hmm. I think, and this is why, marriage counseling, they tell people that, you have to be friends with each other, because as you get older, the frequency may not be as, so I think because of that, knowing that it's not so frequent, the time that you decide that you want a couple is really, thought about, well planned, and enjoyed. So definitely answer yes to that. And then the other question that, what advice, would I give to, young couples or even married couples now to kind of keep that part very engaging and active? Because I always say this, that, when you haven't had sex in a while with your spouse, you find out that their tension, you tend to fight more, you tend to be more short with each other, so sex is very, very, very important in a marriage, in a marriage.
It's the glue.
My advice, to young people is the power of yes. I say that all the time. That is the one thing that has worked for me and for my marriage, the power of yes. A lot of time, many people talk about the power of no, and I'm not saying that, you want to say no to some things, but for me, for marriage, for coupling, what has worked for me and what I advise is the power of yes. There's some times that you'll have to say no, but I think if you come with the attitude, with a heart of yes, like when it comes to coupling, when it comes to sex, I'm available, on both sides, the husband and the wife, I'm available. The Bible says that we should not deny ourselves, right? Even the Bible says so. When you have that attitude, when you have that heart, when you come into marriage with, and that's what I have done, the power of yes. I come, when it comes to that part of our relationship, I'm ready, I'm available. And I find that's why I call it the power of yes. I find out that there is power. There's a book that I read that said we underestimate our power as women, like the power of a woman, and so many times we try to say, I'm tired, I'm angry, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to get back. But you find that when you say yes, you actually wield more power and you yield more results. But that has been my experience. So that's what I would say about that. Okay. Thank you.
I think the thing, I'm OBGYN, so I have to plug the OBGYN aspect in this.
Please, what are you going to plug now, Maureen?
Please do. So it should get better with time for all the reasons that Bolanle has said. You know each other better. Hopefully, practice is making perfect. But there are changes that can happen.
Yeah.
Both in the man and the woman. Obviously, I'm not a urologist, so I'm not going to say much about the man part. But for the women, we know that coupling can become painful. So if it's painful, if that is the reason that you don't want to couple, then obviously the part about being friends.
Thank you for that info. Yeah, very good.
Continuing to be friends is important to say, this is hurting. We're going to need to do something about it. Is it positions? Is it something as simple as lubricant? Is it something as simple as local estrogen cream? Is it something, so it's not like, no, I'm tired, I have a headache, you make things up or whatever. It's a direct conversation about this is hurting, we're going to need, and it's not I'm going to need, it's we are going to need, because it's a two people thing, right?
Yep.
So I just wanted to say that. And so the reason it may not be better with age is that is not a given.
Yeah.
It should get better with age. And even if you only couple once a week, let's say, it should be because both of you are happy to couple once a week. It's not. It shouldn't be because
you're avoiding,
or it's spite or revenge or that kind of thing. So it's just to say that what is the reason? Is it just everybody's busy, and if it's busy, then we need to say, right, okay, we're both busy, but actually this needs attention, so we need to do something about it. Let's make it a date. But again, that comes from being friends, right?
That excellent addition. Yes, thank you so much for
adding
that.
I'm laughing
excellent addition.
I'm laughing because I had to have this conversation, and like you said, Maury, was need to do something about this. Like, so you know how you had said it first time, second time, third time, and the third time it was like a trip outside the country, everything. I said, nope, I'm not going to say yes until this is kind of, whatever we have agreed
attended to.
has been attended to, I mean, I guess that's the power of like, I don't want to say the power of yes, but when someone is used to a certain way of being, and then I'm like, no, but it wasn't a no of like flat out no, but it's no because of
we need to fix
it, such and such, yeah.
And so there was a little bit of pouting, but I'm just like, you're not in my body. That's what I literally said. You are not in my body. I'm not going to inconvenience this body just to make you happy. Let's just fix it. Yeah. So later on, it's like, I should have listened though. If I had fixed it earlier on, like I would not have been getting.
I wouldn't have suffered this long.
Exactly. I said, last, I was telling you, that kind of thing. Because you're very right. Like, there's a statistic.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yes. Thank you for adding that. Yep.
Yeah. So, and I really like that thing of we have to, right? This is not about me, because again, I always tell like the men to say, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that all women have lower desire, right? You kind of find women who have higher desire,
and it varies in different seasons anyway.
It's not like on the high priority list for women, right? We have it, but it's not like top priority. So because it's your own top priority, better take care of things in that sense. So that's kind of my own view. Like, let's he that wears the shoe, like make sure the shoe fits. So that's kind of there. But thank you for adding that. So it's always good to have specialists in the room.
Bring back. And I have to say that Maureen's husband is a urologist, so she probably has a lot of double experience. So she has the information from the man's side and from the woman's side. So it's a complete.
Very complete. Oh, what a home. Just talking about nether regions all day long.
Oh my word. Absolutely not.
Nether regions all day long.
No.
I think my only helpful addition is the estrogen cream thing. Yes to estrogen cream. That's all I'm going to say about that.
So you heard it here. We said we are Christ followers, but we'll still give you practical tips. So estrogen cream, if you happen to be a certain age, right? So make sure you're taking notes. Okay, so now let's go back to what we are here
parenting, exactly.
Mothering, right? Mothering, parenting. So a question I have is like, it's kind of like one of those questions like decision analysis. It's very hypothetical, right? Because you have your children, but knowing what you know now, would you have had more children, less children, 0 children? Like what would you, if you had to do it all over again, just, as a hypothetical question?
So Maureen first, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. The short answer is no. I'd have the exact same number, and I have one of each. So I would have the exact same number, one of each. I'll just give you a short kind of joke, I suppose. I'm one of 5, and I always thought, I'd have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. Like, I don't know if anybody had this like picture of perfection growing up.
Oh, no.
I did.
So it was like 2 boys, 2 girls. The girl would be first. I didn't really care the order of the rest, but the girl will be first because I'm the first, and obviously that's the way that it works perfectly. So, and then I thought, maybe actually one could have twins. I didn't even know that I decided what sex these twins would be. Anyway, when I was pregnant for my first, and we had the scan about 20 weeks, and then they said, we're going to find out what we were having, and they said it was a boy. I was honestly very unhappy because I was like, how is this possible that I'm going to have a boy first? Like, how? But the God that is merciful knew the end from the beginning, and honestly, I'm just like, I just needed to have a boy first, like, really. So, and then I had the boy, or we had the boy, and then it was like, I'm definitely not having any more. Like, this is enough. It's just going to have to do. It's fine. We will all be all right with one child. Forget about having 4. In fact, forget about having twins. Like, who does that? No. Thank you, Lord. And then like 5 years later, when our son was like growing up and he's like, oh, he wants a sibling. In fact, he wants a sister. So then we said, okay, pray to God and ask God for a sister, which he did, not religiously, persistently and consistently. And then, and then by this time I thought, you know what, actually, it's good to have a sibling. I'm one of 5, and I know that I love being one of 5, but I knew that 5 was in another generation. It wasn't here. So anyway, then we had our second, a girl, which we didn't actually find out while I was pregnant. So when she was born, and I mean, she's a girl, it's like, wow, God answers prayer. Obviously, if it turned out to be a boy, God answers prayer anyway. But having them, a boy and a girl, for me, honestly, was the best way round. Yeah. And so I wouldn't have it any other way than to where I am now. And I'm glad I have one of each. Although by the time we're having the second one, I was like, it doesn't matter whether it's a boy or a girl, to be honest, because really and truly, I have realized that, it's not about whether it's a boy or a girl. God should just help all of us.
Yeah. Okay. Some would say these are like, first world problems. Like you are kind of choosing because you have all the money and you want to say, I want my kids to have, a good quality of life. But let's go to Bolanle and here. Yeah.
So for me, I never wanted a lot of kids. Honestly, I think so. For me, the answer would be okay with where I am. My husband wanted more kids. He wanted 4 kids. I wanted 2 kids. And so we compromised before marriage and said we're going to have 3 kids. We did try to have 3 kids, but after our 2, but I mean, I guess it was not meant to be. It wasn't in our cards or whatever, So we're very thankful. Like I said, I'm perfectly okay where I am. Having the one, if we had another child, would have been as a result of, marriage compromises. Marriage is not about you.
Yeah.
But we tried. But it wasn't meant to be. So very happy.
You're one of 5 siblings too, right?
I'm also one of 5. I'm also one of 5, and I'm the last.
That's why Maureen said that's a generation, right? That's a different generation.
So I think for me, I didn't want to have too many kids. I never had the dream of 4 children. Never. It was never my dream.
No. Shola, what about you?
So I was one of those who wanted to have one child. I knew that I wanted to be a parent, to just have the experience of being a parent. So I wanted one child. And then I get a boyfriend who wants 4 kids. And I'm like, are you mad? Who's going to have 4 kids? You better bring down your expectations. So before we got married, we were kind of playing with the 2 or 3. Then I had 1 kid. And I'm like, do not ever talk to me about having more children, or else you are not my friend. I actually told him that. So he was kind of like, whatever. So
a few years later,
I feel like just like Maureen, I actually had a conversation with somebody. I was like, just talking about siblings, because I'm one of them. I have two brothers. So and I never cared what gender. I never cared. Like there was not a thing in my mind. I just like I want 1 kid, and that was that. Have the 1 kid. Yeah, then it's like, so I started having this conversation with a random pharmacist. I don't know, pharmacists. I have an affinity for them. And she's like, oh yeah, it's great to have, siblings and all of that. And I came home to my husband. I said, yeah, I think I want us to have a second one. He's like, are you sure? Like, you come and start looking at me, and and then we had the second one. So every child I had was really like, okay, I want this child. I want this child. Let's do it. And after that, I think I would have wanted a 3rd one, but again, it was that thing of because I had the most difficult pregnancies ever. That could have happened. Thank goodness we're alive. But I had really difficult pregnancies. And you know what? Let's just not.
Do it again
with this anymore.
And I think I was the opposite in terms of like Maureen. I had this dream vision of I'm going to have 3 children. I'm going to start with a girl, and maybe 2 boys or whatever. Well, Maureen, at least you went for the scan and you saw that it was a boy. I did not know it was a boy until the day of the delivery. I cried.
I couldn't. I knew that it would be bad.
People in the hospital were wondering, why is she crying? But it was the cry of like I would say unmet expectations. Even though I was happy to have this child, I'm like, I wanted a girl, boo. But that was just like for 20 minutes, because by the time they just gave me the child, I'm like, girl, boy, whatever. I'm just thankful that I have
a healthy child.
Yes, healthy child.
Yep, healthy.
So
That's what matters.
Kind of, maybe I would say the thing about cesarean section, because it was a shock when they pulled out the child and said, "Oh, it's a boy." I'm like, I'm telling you, I just burst out crying, like heaving cries. The woman was like, maybe the other was tears.
Are you okay?
I'm like, I wish.
Everything all right?
But by the time the second one came, it's like, I don't think I can do this a third time. Just mentally, in that sense. I mean, physically, probably, nurturing mood, probably. But just mentally, I kind of was like, now I can see why they say, like, OBGYN.
Yep.
Sometimes pregnancy kind of causes some sort of psychosis, right? In that sense, for certain people. But yeah, I was like, no, it was really difficult. And for me, most of the issue came back again. Came after the pregnancy. So I was like, I don't think I can do this again. Like, it would be dangerous of me to go down this path again. Like, God has shown me that, He needs me here to watch my children. So that's kind of for me. And then by the time the second one came, it didn't even matter. In fact, I was so happy because I was like, all these beautiful clothes and shoes and everything, you can just use them for the next one. You're just going to be saving your coins in that sense. Because with the first child you overbuy, so you had all these things that you had to now would have probably given away to Salvation Army or something. So we didn't have to do that, for which I was thankful for. So now my last question around this is, again, since it's Mother's Day, what have your children taught you? What has having them taught you as a person? Like, we started with what we learned with our mothers, and now we're going to end with what we're learning from our children.
I don't know Jack.
I'm gonna start with you, and I'm gonna go around, right? So Shala, what have your children taught you?
That I don't know anything. No. But I think my children have actually taught me how to be, they've taught me how to be patient.
Yeah.
When you pray to God for patience, God doesn't just bless you with patience. He puts you in a situation that develop your patience and drill the patience into you. Now, I can still say I'm a long way from being somebody who will be described as patient, but I've learned patience.
Yeah, from having
because having a child is like baking a cake that takes 20 years to bake. You're never really, and I realized that with parenting, you're never really done. So I've learned patience. I've learned to see the world through their eyes. I remember people tell me that, now my daughter's age, all they want to do is either play games or do this or that. And I tell them, go and see the world through their eyes. Ask them about those games they're playing. Or if you keep just trying to draw them into your world, that's when the alienation happens. Go see the world through their eyes. And they're at the age where they have their own lives. And unless you immerse yourself in their lives, you don't, you miss out a lot, because they have their own perspectives, their own humor, their own craziness, so to speak. I mean, my kids are two amazing people. They're people that sometimes I look at them, when are you going to grow up so we can just be friends? We can just be three old people together. I've seen how the things I've taught them are coming back to bless me. The things I've taught them in terms of responsibility, empathy, taking care of others, being nice, sharing your faith, praying, it's coming back to even bless me. So I learned, from my kids that, what you put into them, it comes back to you.
Yeah. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Went to church then.
Okay, Valerie, let's hear from you.
I echo a lot of the things that Shola said. I think, and it wasn't very easy. I'm going to be very honest here, and say that there's some things that I wish I knew, and I did better. Definitely, especially as I have older kids. But like you said, when you know better, you do better. So kind of going with the old style. I used to be. I yelled, unfortunately. So, when my kids were younger, but what I've learned from them, especially the younger one, now is that, and I'm glad, being able to, they're more confident. When we were growing up, we didn't have we were so afraid. We couldn't, at least my growing up, our culture, you couldn't speak up, when somebody spoke, you all had to cower. But my kids have taught me to stand up for themselves, and when when you talk about something, they'll be like, well, let's have a conversation, this is, and that has taught me to like calm down, because everybody be calming down. down, and listen, So I'll definitely say what the things that they've taught me as a mom is to listen. To listen, and from there to try to not be too what's the word? Is it reactive? Word? But to be So I have definitely, oh my God, I have grown. Yeah. I've grown in leaps and bounds in that. And I'm so thankful for grace. I'm so thankful that, even if we, things that we've done before that maybe we could have done better, God always gives grace, to make things better. So definitely I'm in a much, much, much better place, learning to listen. Patience, not to be, I think the most important for me is not to be reactive. Not to be reactive, but just to be more responsive, to listen and, calm down and, respond to whatever it is that they're saying. And that has really helped to have a better relationship, where we're friends, like I said, my son is 20, we're having mature conversations, so that's really, really, that has really been a game changer.
Okay. Maureen.
Well, my kids taught me. I think that, like Shola said, they teach patience. That's it. I mean, marriage teaches you patience. Parenthood teaches you patience. I was at a seminar a few weeks ago, and it was a parenting session, and they said there is not one way to be a good parent. There are many ways that you can be a good parent.
Yes.
So, and they said, if the tips that we give you here, try them. If they work, continue. If they don't, then stop. There is no one way fits all. There is no one way fits every child. We are not the same. I'm not the same parent I was with my first as I am with my second, and my first reminds me of that every time. In my time, he says, and I'm thinking, can you just stop with in my time? We are 16. It's like, in my time, so, but it's the truth that I'm not the same parent. And we know that our parents are not the same with us as they were with our other siblings, especially I'm the first, and I know how my parents are with my youngest sibling, and now I understand it better. Now I understand it better, being a parent myself, especially with the a significant gap between the two of them. So I've also learned that, children, they hear more than we give them credit for. Keep speaking. Keep speaking, your wisdom. Keep speaking God's word over them. Keep praying for them. They may not show you now or immediately that they are hearing or they are listening or they are taking it in, but they are. Keep speaking. Keep speaking. Keep speaking. Because they would probably surprise you, with the things that they would say and the things that they would do, and you'd be like, wow. Also, they learn more from us by watching us than by hearing us.
Yes.
And so, they're watching, they're seeing me as a parent, us as husband and wife. So, you can say all you want, but your actions are speaking louder than your words. So they know what really are your values, what really is important to you, because they are seeing you live it. Last but not the least is that they know children are very, very clever, and they know who is the parent to go to for this or that, rightly or wrongly.
So Amanda got a skateboard.
You need unity. You need unity. They teach you and your spouse unity, if not else.
Exactly. Yeah. Because otherwise,
they will manipulate the kind of delight out of you.
So again, it's about communication. Because if you and your spouse are not communicating, then there can easily be division. And that is not to say everybody agrees on the same thing every time. But you can agree to disagree, and you can disagree without being disagreeable. And children will learn that from our example. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
And I said to my son at some point, I said, look, I've never been the parent of a 16-year-old. I've never been the parent of a 15-year-old. So just the same way you are being a 16-year-old, I am being the parent of a 16-year-old, and we're all figuring it out together. So, cut me some slack, and I'm going to cut you some slack. Like, I've not done it before. We're all here learning it together. So, this is what it is. Yeah. The very last thing I'm going to say is that we are stewards of everything God has given us, including our marriages, our families, our children. Ultimately, everything is God's, and we're all for God's glory. So God has a plan for them. God has them in his hands. God doesn't have grandchildren. At the end of the day, these are God's children. So we need to keep committing our marriages, our families, our children into God's hands, and remembering that ultimately he is the owner. We are just here to steward, and he will help us to steward well. But we need to keep going back to him for grace, for wisdom, for strength, for patience, for knowledge, understanding.
Yeah.
Because we are stewards of the children God has given us and blessed us with.
I agree with you. I think for me, the thing that my children have taught me is how to communicate, how to be very clear in what you're saying. Because I always say that children are your conscience, right? You think you've said, so this thing about communication, you think you've said something and then you realize you didn't say anything. I mean, in the sense of, if you look back, you're like, this thing only made sense to me, right? If I looked at it from their perspective, like Shala was saying. So it's taught me how to be very, very clear in my communication, which sometimes then becomes, I would say, not an issue with adults, but adults are not used to that. Like you just being so explicit in what you're trying to say. But it's because, you see this kind of scenarios all the time. You say, like one time I said to one of the children, I said, pick up the letters from the floor, in a stack of alphabet letters. And they only picked up the letters and they left the numbers. Why? Because I didn't say pick up the numbers, right? In that sense. I mean, you want to be like, what? But then you hear from their point of view and you're like, but you did say pick up the letters, right? So it teaches you humility. I think that's where I'm going. Like humility to say, you didn't really know everything that you thought you knew, or you thought you were a great communicator, but now you're realizing, it's not coming across the way that you want them to hear. So for me, I think it's that communication and just like Bolani was saying, just being attuned to their feelings, like again, because they're boys, it's almost like, oh, why do you have to be so feely, but I lean into it. I'm just like, okay, we're having a meltdown. Let's talk about it. Let's, hear it out. And so these children tell me all manner of things, like random things. And it's just like, what, but you just be like, okay, fine. I mean, one is in middle school. Like, middle school is the adventurous age where people try all kinds of nonsensical things. So when they're coming back and telling me things, I'm like, wow, okay, so who did what? In fact, sometimes I'll be like, so who is dating who now? Whose boyfriend is who now? Who's doing the boyfriend? Who's doing the girlfriend? All of you with your fake boyfriend and girlfriend matter. We kind of laugh about those kinds of things. But I think I'm trying to say that I make things normal. I normalize a lot of things, right? So that it's not like, oh, this stuff is, big or small in that sense. So I'm able to talk about anything with them. I mean, my husband already do that, but I just feel like with them, there's no need being a different person, right? So I talk about every single thing. In fact, sometimes like, Mom, don't talk about private parts. I'm like, I will talk about private parts because I'm your mother, right? In that sense. And so they've taught me like just very clear communication, saying what you mean and meaning what you say, and then being quick to apologize, right? Being quick to say that you're sorry. So all in all, right, I always say, like, like you said, I think God gives everybody the kind of children that they need, right? So that you can learn along the way. I feel like that learning is lifelong, right?
100%.
You have your children, you're going to be learning until the day that you leave this earth. And so he gives exactly what you need, right? Like Shola was saying, for patience, for me, for communication and patience, right? All of those things, I think that God just makes room so that we can continue to learn through them. And then through them, then it reflects back, right, on the marriage, right, in that sense, in a sense. So, I mean, we're going to be doing a webinar around this next month after Father's Day. We'll kind of wrap it up with parenting and how that really impacts your marriage, right? So I don't know if I'll call it a parenting session versus a thriving marriage session, but it all kind of will come together, right? So we're going to be having that. But I want to say thank you to every single one of you, right? I don't take you for granted. I appreciate our friendship, right? This is what combined. How many years combined work experience and life experience and friendship in this room?
Hundreds,
right?
100 years.
About 30 years. We're not that old though. We already said.
When you say combined experience, that means
yes, combined over friendship 30, but in terms of work experience, it's over 100, right?
Oh,
like
100,
so when you see us on the road, don't treat us anyhow. We're just we're here to take mountains. So yeah, I am so proud to be your friend, right? For all of you, I'm very proud of the work you're doing, in your workplaces, in your homes, with your spouses. I mean, I know we keep saying all these things, but I really think that
this is what they do, right?
It's right? It's just a privilege, right, to be able to have this group of friends and for us to sit down here and talk about, these things, right? I feel like it's almost like a girlfriend chat, and I'm hoping the people listening to us will kind of hear that this is how we have our conversations, right? Yes, we may not, agree on all points, but everyone is heard. We're kind of, know where we're all coming from. And like Maureen was saying, right, it's work in progress, and it's God that really helps us. And there's when you come to the some of it. So thank you very, very much, right? And then I think I always have a question for me on the couch or for us, right, in this sense, but then it's only one half here, so your question will be half a question. You're entitled to half a question.
I'll save my question till the webinar.
Okay, great. Shola, what about you? Half a question.
I have half a question.
Okay.
How is it that?
What's the have a question? Oh, that's the
how is it that?
Shola Shade, you've not changed. You have not changed.
That is coming. Bolale, do you have a question?
Maybe not a question, maybe more of a comment.
Okay.
I want to say that I still love how you parent your sons. Otito, I like that. I like how you give them a safe space and the freedom to express themselves. And like you said, when you know better, you do. So that's definitely something that I'm very, very, that I've seen, that is very commendable, something that, I've definitely modeled after, some things that, sometimes you just, say a comment or you post something, about your conversations with the boys, and they have been very inspirational. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We know better, we do better. That's it. And I always say every day is a school day.
Yes. I learned that from you. Every day is a school day.
Actually make this statement to people every single time. I said, as my friend Maureen says, I even mentioned it. My friend Maureen says, every day is a school day.
You never stop learning.
No,
that's the essence of this conversation.
You never stop learning. There's always something that you can learn, always something that you can take.
And I'm grateful for the opportunity that we can have to reflect back and then look forward, right, in that sense. Because I don't think our parents had that. They didn't have that privilege, as far as I know. So Thanks.
And I think they didn't know better, honestly. You know, I look at it with the lens of the time, the generation, the culture. Yeah. And they didn't know better, honestly. And just like how, you know, when you talked about the time, my vulnerable moments, when the things that now I wish if I could go back and change, but that was because I didn't know better, you know. But now that I know better, obviously, you know, I do better.
You do better.
Thank you so much. And we're going to say bye. Bye, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on the couch in a few weeks for Father's Day. The same conversation, but with the next gen of, you know, not next gen of. So, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye. Lovely being with you, ladies. See you soon.